If you were to somehow be teleported to the grim darkness of the Warhammer 40K galaxy, one of the very first things I'd recommend is to get yourself some good armor. It's a dangerous galaxy, and just about everything, from angry mushrooms to horrors beyond your mortal comprehension, is out there to kill you. Luckily, as with almost every single well-written sci-fi franchise, the Imperium of Mankind has a suit of armor designed just for that purpose. The glorious, iconic, and absolutely badass looking power armor. So come along with me to explore today's subject, the iconic power armor of the 40K setting. And if you enjoyed watching the video just as much as I enjoyed making it, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps me out more than you might believe. Before we start, I quickly want to go over the basic tech that makes up almost every single pattern of power armor. I will explain these now, so I don't have to keep repeating myself later in the video. All power armor is crafted from heavy and quite robust ceramide plating, meaning it's able to tank most forms of light to medium firepower. Auto senses, helmet house sensors like TOT-activated communication arrays, video and audio filters, and information displays. Photo lenses, shielding the Space Marine's eyes from light bursts and allowing them to see in night vision, the infrared and ultraviolet spectrums. Respirator Vox Grill, allowing the wearer to speak at any needed volume and filters most toxic gases. Auto-responsive shoulder plates, designed and molded to deflect and withstand incoming ordnance. This is also the place Space Marines like to display their heraldry and honors. Backpack Power Unit, the primary power core of the armor, as well as reserve cells and an emergency solar collector for use during extended operations. Life sign monitors includes automatic injection systems that can administer painkillers, antitoxins, and combat stimulants. The nutrient reservoir, a self-replenishing calorie-dense ration store that can sustain a Space Marine's considerable metabolism during combat. Reinforced greaves. Built into the boots, these gyroscopic stabilizers allow power armor to magnetize their soles and help keep the wearer stable at all times. And lastly, although this one is only for Space Marines, I feel like I should mention it here, the Black Carapace. Also known as the Interface, it is the last and most crucial implant an Astartes gets during his transformation from a regular guy into a superhuman soldier. It's like a black, intelligent material that goes under the skin on the Marine's bone structure. The Apothecary, a kind of Space Marine doctor, uses special tools to make points in the carapace, allowing the Space Marine to connect his brain and nervous system directly into his power armor and experience it like a second, harder skin. Although the Black Carapace is super important for a Space Marine to use his power armor to its maximum potential, other more standard humans, like you and me, can still wear power armor without too many issues, just not to the extent Astartes can. Now that we have the basics out of the way, let's get into the real meat of the video. We will start off with the marks of armor worn by Space Marines from 1 to 10, and then end off with some cool, really specialized suits at the end. First off, where it all began, the Mark I power armor. Originally used by techno-barbarians on Holy Terra a long time ago, this mark of armor came about during the Unification Wars or maybe even right before. Dubbed Thunder Armor, this pattern was the very first version worn by the Emperor's Thunder Warriors before even the Imperial Aquila was a thing. This armor was not completely encased, covering mostly the upper body and only supplying power from the waist up. It was noisy, prone to falling apart, and needed a big cooling system to stay functional. Even though it was loud and imperfect, the Mark I armor gave the wearer a massive strength boost. Like, we're talking 3 to 4 times stronger. And considering how strong Thunder Warriors already were, this was really scary on the battlefield. The Mark I is an iconic piece of history, showing where Warhammer 40K's incredibly cool lore began during the ancient days of the unification of Terra and Luna. The Mark II, also known as Crusade armor, came into being right after the Sol system was conquered. Mars's factories worked hard to create a new kind of armor for the Emperor's newly established legions, the Legiones Astartes. This armor was the first to fully enclose the wearer, meaning it could be used in toxic places and outer space. It also had experimental life support systems, which became standard issue later on. Unlike the first one, both the body and legs of the Mark II became powered, allowing the wearer to move at their maximum speed. The helmet of the Mark II was integrated with the original auto sensors from the Mechanicum, making the wearer feel like they weren't wearing a helmet at all, improving their sight and hearing, and allowing them to view the battlefield in multiple light spectrums. The Mark III pattern, known as Iron Armor, hails from a newly discovered need during the campaigns of the Great Crusade. It was crafted in response to the rise in boarding actions and subterranean warfare faced by the Astartes legions. This armor has a harsh and intimidating appearance, featuring enhanced layer plating that made it more power-hungry. It wasn't meant to replace the Mark II pattern, but was designed as a specialized model for close quarters combat with limited cover. The Imperial Fists, Iron Warriors, and Death Guard legions favored it due to their more siege-orientated tactics. strikes, while the Dark Angels and Space Wolves liked it more for their full frontal assaults and love of diving headstrong into intense firefights. The Mark IV, known as the Imperial Maximus suit, was created near the end of the Great Crusade when the Astartes found their original patterns of armor starting to wear out and becoming cumbersome for production. To counteract these supply issues, significant changes were applied to the earlier patterns, ditching separated layered armor in favor of larger, less flexible armor casings with built-in joints. This mark slightly reduced mobility, but made production and maintenance a much easier task. The power cables were reinforced, allowing for greater freedom in plating placement. At this time, Mark IV was thought to be the ultimate Space Marine armor, offering the best protection in almost every single condition. Today, it's the most common pre-heresy armor still in use, representing a key part of Warhammer 40K's historical armor evolution. Mark V, dubbed Heresy Armor. The Mark V is a mismatch of various earlier marks. When the Horus Heresy broke out, the legions were barely half equipped. Many legions that had recently been completely outfitted with Mark IV armor turned against the Imperium, while many loyal legions were purposely denied access to it. Even legions armed with Mark IV suits quickly ran out of spare parts and were unable to construct replacement units. To keep the legions fighting, Marine artificers and tech marines had to use old-style equipment from previous models, salvage from killed opponents, and use unorthodox innovations of their own. Despite its ad hoc nature, several forms of standardization exist, as the Marines confronted the added obstacle of being on the receiving end of their own weaponry wielded by the traitors. The most frequent way was to apply additional layers of armor with the addition of molecular bonding studs. The studs commonly visible on surfaces such as the helmet, shoulder plates, and greaves, distinguishing the Mark V from earlier patterns. Mark VI, known as Corvis armor, this pattern was field tested by the legionnaires of the Ravenguard Legion during the Scalland campaign. The Mark VI armor provides no greater protection, but it did include more efficient internal systems for power routing and auto senses, featured a modular design that allowed armor components to be switched out when damaged, or when battlefield conditions necessitated changes. Power systems were given redundant backups with no weight gain, and furthermore, the armor had the finest stealth capabilities of any power armor mark yet devised. Corvis armor is also notable for its conical helmet nose, which houses extra technologies such as the sophisticated auto senses. According to some, the studded left shoulder pad from the earlier Mark V style symbolizes the glory of those heroes who stood alongside the Emperor at the Eternity Gate. The Mark VII pattern, also known as the Aquila, Imperator, Eagle Armor, or Armorum Imperator, was created during the final days of the Horus Heresy, and remained the most widely used pattern of power armor for over 10 millennia. It's a significant upgrade from the Mark VI, with the main improvement being the redesigned chest plate that covers the previously exposed upper body and arm cabling. The chest proudly displays the Imperial Eagle, earning the armor its common name, and its clean, unstudded pauldrons proudly display the chapter's heraldry and rank. Since this armor is a development of the Mark VI, both versions share a lot in common, and parts like the helmet can easily be swapped between them. The Mark VII pattern also has its own backup power supply and solar array for recharging, allowing the suit to function without its backpack for a short period of time. The Mark VIII pattern is essentially a heavily modified and upgraded Mark VII suit, with additional fixed armor plates on the torso to enclose all of the suit's remaining exposed cables, and a new armored collar that protects the helmet's respirator, as well as addressing the vulnerability issue of the neck joint, which had previously been known to act as a shell trap, meaning a round could hit the chest armor and be deflected up into the neck joint. The new collar did necessitate a new helmet design though, which produced issues with backwards compatibility with previous helmet types. The Mark VIII armor has only seen limited manufacture thus far, and is only seen in small numbers on the 41st Millennium's battlefields. It is frequently worn as a symbol of rank by veteran Space Marine sergeants and captains. The Mark X Tacticus armor is a suit that combines the most potent ancestral Horus Heresy patterns with the more contemporary advances in power armor technology. Magos Belisarius Kal created the Mark X at the same time as the Primaris Marines. The Mark X is a more versatile design than its predecessors. There's not one design, but rather a modular system of ceramide plating that may be changed for a variety of tactical missions, ranging from the scouting and reconnaissance capabilities of the Phobos pattern to the Mark X Reaver or Gravis pattern. The lightweight plating and streamlined design of the Phobos and Reaver suits allow for greater mobility, and the servo motors are designed to be absolutely silent. However, both designs compromise protection for stealth and speed, as completely opposed to the heavy Gravis pattern worn by aggressor squads, which is more heavily reinforced and allows for a level of protection comparable to Terminator armor, while maintaining the flexibility of conventional power armor. Now for the versions of power armor that can be worn by normal humans. Although smaller in stature, their strengths are not to be underestimated. The Sisters of Battle wear suits of armor known as Sororita Power Armor, commonly depicted with the absolutely badass Sabbath pattern helmet. Designed in the forges of Holy Mars, this pattern of armor allows the sisters to withstand devastating punishment, even in the shadows that the Emperor's light does not reach. The Vratine pattern power armor is a rare type of armor worn by the Sisters of Silence, which shares design elements with both the standard issue power armor of the Space Marines and the Marvel tech of the silicate mesh of Celentine Voidmail. The Sisters pattern of armor is shrouded in secrecy, rumored to be created in the bowels of the Somnus Citadel on Luna. On the other hand, the Inquisition favors the use of the Malleus pattern power armor, which is incredibly rare and high in demand even amongst the Holy Ordos. These suits of Artificer armor are inscribed with pentagrammatic wards in the vaults deep below the Tricorn Palace. Highly prized by those who expect to fight demons in hand-to-hand combat, the wards inscribed onto the armor harm demonic creatures who directly strike at the wearer. Armor of the Order. Before the arrival of the Emperor on Caliban, the Knights of the Order developed a suit of protective armor derived from ancient remaining STCs found on their world. Able to deflect artillery shrapnel and featuring an inbuilt AC system, the Armor of the Order is the perfect attire for an evening of purging untold horrors from the face of your feudal world. And lastly, there is known to exist a pattern of retro power armor that appears to be a mixture of various patterns and marks from earlier designs. Although very little is known about its creation or capabilities, it can be seen to include a helmet that is incredibly reminiscent of the Mark VI pattern, shoulder plastrons with bonding studs similar to the Mark V plate, and also appearing to like the powered greaves that would feature in almost every other pattern of future versions of the fabled power armor. Well, nothing is certain. We can speculate that this was an interim design designed to fulfill a tactical need for a Space Marine, while other more supposedly advanced suits were in development. Besides all these iconic main patterns, there are still many minor and relatively unknown versions of power armor I could cover in this video. Cool suits like the Techno-Barbarian armor, the Aretian Technocracy power armor, the Dulanian pattern, the Stormsuit pattern, and the terrifying Zeit engine armor. But as I don't have enough time to give those patterns the time and detail they deserve in this video, I will have to cover them in a later armor deep dive. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know down in the comments below what is your favorite pattern of power armor. I personally love Mark II the most, but I would love to hear what you guys think. New main videos are coming every week, and maybe give my shorts a look if you haven't already. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.